And welcome everyone to another OSR tabletop with myself, GM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the thumbnail, if you saw it through YouTube, then you'll see that two things. Number one, this is going to be an open mic Sunday with myself. Although on the thumbnail I noticed I did a little typo on there. I'll have to fix that next time. But this is something I want to do on a fairly regular basis. So Sunday nights and always should be a different time every time. So I don't want to make it so so predictable, as it were. Sometimes I might be able to jump on earlier, and so that's when I'll do that, or possibly a little bit later or whatnot. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to come on a little bit earlier than I generally do, because I find that I get a different group of people that are able to come on in and even participate. So I'm looking forward to your participation. I am going to be putting up that invite for you to come in backstage much sooner than I generally do. And so I am going to do that right now. So if you are interested in jumping in and just talking about, again, this is open mic. So whatever you want to bring up, this is anything role-playing game related. So it could be tabletop RPGs, it could be computer RPGs, MMOs, and whatnot. So anything that you are interested in talking about, you're welcome to do so. I'm also going to be talking about some of my own gaming from this past week, and so you'll get a good sense of where I'm planning on what I have been doing, what I'm planning on doing, and whatnot. So let me just jump right into that. And again, the chat room is open, so you can throw your comments in there. Again, you can join in backstage, and I will bring you on. And again, talk about your own thing. So sometime very early last week, I picked up Oblivion remastered on Steam, and so did a little playthrough, in the very beginning, and then I was like, hey, I knew I had this someplace, in my closet, and so I grabbed this out, and it's a game that I was actually a bigger fan of Morrowind than I was of Oblivion, and even a bigger fan of Daggerfall. That was my first introduction to Elder Scrolls. And of course, Skyrim, which I think virtually everybody is a fan of Skyrim, and we will see. We'll see what comes of Elder Scrolls 6. I know that there's one in the works, but I have a feeling that what they're going to do is they're going to remaster some of these others, to kind of delay and keep our interest in the Elder Scrolls series going for a little bit longer. Allows them to extract, an extra, $50-$60 out of everybody along the way as well. But as long as they do a good job of it, I don't see an issue with that. I was glad to pick this up because I actually don't have Oblivion on Steam or even on my current computer. I recently went through and discarded a whole bunch of older CD-ROM based games that I still had. I mean, back when we used to call them CD-ROMs, and I don't even have a computer that can run those things anymore. So, and Oblivion was one of them with all of its other DLC long before they even called it DLC. And so it was good to pick up this one. I also don't have Morrowind on Steam, so if they do a remake of Morrowind, I will definitely pick that up as well. And and then I'll spend some time on the channel here, showing off my gameplay with that. So that was, the early part of my gaming last week was just jumping into Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion after a long, long break. So probably over 10 years since I played it last. So it was nice to jump back into it again. Let's see, we have Ducato. Hey, how's it going, Ducato? Just a couple weeks away before Central New York RPG Con. I'm really looking forward to it. It'd be great to see Roger again. Great to see you again, and meet some people that I haven't met in person before. So really excited about that convention. As a matter of fact, let me get my flyers up over here and see. I will show those off. So Roger, if you're watching, I went to Alternaverse, which is a local comic book shop by me. I picked up a couple cards. I'm going to bring them out to your convention as well and share these out there. But he took one of your flyers, which, here we have one of your little flyers here. We actually took like 2 or 3 of them. And so this is going to be June 14th and 15th, 2025. Obviously, from on both days, so that's a Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Although I don't think the Sunday schedule goes all the way out to there, but certainly not for me. I'm actually driving up Saturday morning, so I'm not staying over Friday night into Saturday morning. Instead, I'm just going to leave my home around 6 a.m. I am going to arrive to the place, I'm hoping around 9-ish, 9:30 or so. And then my first game that I am running Shadow Dark at 10 a.m. And then I have a 4-hour break. And then I am running Fallout RPG. That's I believe from like 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, and that in between 4 hours, between my 10 o'clock and my 6 o'clock game, I am going to be checking into the hotel and then just going around and seeing people and checking out what things they're doing, check in with the vendors and whatnot, grab a bite to eat, and hopefully just have a great time at this inaugural game convention here in New York, Central New York, role-playing game convention. This is in New Hartford. Don't confuse it with Connecticut. New Hartford, New York, just out on the outskirts of Utica, New York. So really excited about that. Now, the weekend before that, I have AutoCon. So AutoCon is a small convention. So between 50 and 70 people come to this one. This one is in my hometown of Pleasant Valley, New York. And, Fred and Mary are running this thing. This is their, I believe this is their 4th year. I'm really excited about it. Like I said, it's literally 7 minutes away from my home. So I'm really excited about it. And I am running the same Shadow Dark adventure, which I'm going to phase out after these 2 conventions. I will no longer be running Shards of Ymir, and I'll be coming up with something new for September going forward. So So really looking forward to that. I'm running my game at that convention, and then almost immediately following, I'm playing in Fred, the convention organizers. He's doing kind of like a massive dungeon crawl. That's almost like a battle royale kind of dungeon crawl thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Then in September, and I know this one's a little bit farther off, but ShireCon 2025. This one is in Canaan, Connecticut. Great convention. This will be the fourth time that I'm going. I'm fairly certain fourth time that I'm going, and really excited about it, and going to see what I'm going to be running there. I'm pretty certain I'm going to be running Castles and Crusades. And I'm actually getting more involved with the Endless Worlds organized play through Trollord Games. I've reached out and spoken to Chuck Cumbo, who is the community organizer for Trollord Games. And he's really starting to just pick up the Endless Worlds organized play and trying to spread it. And so I am definitely looking to start committing myself to running things from Trollord Games over the next year, let's say. So the first one will be at ShireCon, and then I will make it more of a staple of what I'm running in 2026. So be on the lookout for that as well. So those are my three remaining conventions that I'm planning on for 2025. And then 2026, I have committed to attending Rising Phoenix in April. I've been looking at TotalCon possibly in February, which is the reason why I'm skipping page 3 this upcoming year, because it's in January and I was already committed to an April convention, and I'm trying to spread out my convention going a little bit and do some alternating of some of the 3-day conventions. So I'm definitely looking to do that. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Good to see you here. And then we have Mike, what's up? How's it going? RPG Dad, hello, welcome. Good to see you. Fox Off RPG, good to see you. I was checking your channel out the other day, or maybe not yesterday, the day before. I've been super busy at my house. I've been doing a lot of not me personally, but I have a lot of work being done at my home, and getting a lot of work done, from refinishing floors to painting rooms and getting new furniture and whatnot. So, and my two daughters are taking over the living room, which we barely ever used, and they're kind of making that their little lounge, their personal lounge. So, all the power to them. They're doing all of the design and everything of it. And I just had the two boys that were painting it. Jay just finished up today in painting that, and we still have a lot of stuff to do between now and the next 3 weeks, but certainly looking forward to getting the house done by the summertime, hopefully. So let's see. Yes, I know you signed up for ShireCon. I can't wait to see you there as well. I'm not going to be running as many games there as I did previously, because I want to play in more games as well, which is another thing. I'll be playing for sure in Joseph Block's war game on Sunday morning. So looking forward to doing that. Hey, Shadow, how's it going? Good to see you. Shadow and Sun is a player in my Amazing Adventures campaign. So and they had a pretty interesting night of adventuring on Tuesday. I haven't done the wrap up of that. I've been really kind of busy the last couple of days. But what they did there was they went into this this kind of very cyberpunk nightclub, searching for leads and potentially conflict in what they're investigating. They're investigating the cult of the Red God, and they had some leads on some of its operatives that were supposed to be working in this tavern or not tavern, nightclub, and they just didn't encounter the things that would have been much more exciting, dangerous, or whatnot. I mean, it was just and they did nothing wrong, obviously. It was just, there were certain things that just didn't happen. And sometimes that happens, and they kind of walked away from it like, wow, that wasn't a whole lot. We really thought that there was going to be much, not the player characters were like, we kind of hit a dead end, or at least that's the sense that I got from their interaction with one another. Although they did get one little bit of information that I think will help them going forward. But every once in a while, it's nice to have a session that isn't combat focused, but had the potential for it. So it kind of it puts me back into the mindset that your players will sometimes have their characters do something that I wasn't really expecting, or things just don't happen the way that I had expected. And I think that's healthy for role playing. That's healthy for a game master to deal with. It's healthy for players to come away from the table realizing that every session is not always going to be combat. Every session has the possibility of being focused on investigating and learning about the situation that they're in, learning about the world, learning about additional contacts that they might or leads that they might start following in different directions. So I kind of like the fact that it really is a player generated situations that occur when running a game. So yeah, I was happy to see that. Let's see. Thank you so much. I have been watching you for ages, mostly on a personal account, but mostly on channel accounts these days. Yeah. So I was checking out your channel, and I was like, oh, I think I just subbed to it because sometimes I come across these channels. I was like, geez, I could have sworn I was subbed. And so I resubbed, and sometimes I notice that the alert bell is for channels I am subbed at, and yet the alert bell isn't for all, so but yeah, I definitely will get back to checking out your channel and chatting a little bit, and even promoting your channel as well. So definitely looking forward to doing that. So let's see, what else did I come across? So Saturday night, last night, I ran my Shadow Dark campaign. Now I only had 2 players arrive, but the third had a family issue, so I only had 2 players arrive, and there is an opening for up to 2 more players to that group. But they decided that they were going to roll second characters, and so they each controlled 2 characters, and it worked really, really well. I'm going to do a full-blown recap of this particular session, because the session got super hairy in the last encounter that they were having, and I'm, I hate to give a spoil, I'm not going to spoil it now, but it was really exciting, and had all of us on our edges of our seat, and I'm looking forward to doing that full video. Probably tomorrow night I will do the full recap. So they are currently going through the Cursed Scrolls #3. They're doing kind of a hex crawl setup, or at least that's what I'm running it as, is a hex crawl, and they're on the verge of 3rd level already after I believe it's 9 sessions. So looking forward to that. And if these you're starting to find, this you're going to start finding on your friendly local gaming shops. All right, I see more and more people posting, "Hey, I'm in Tennessee and I saw this on the shelf." This is going to be available in in game shops around. Despite what some other YouTubers claim, yes, you can get copies of this, and just the amount of third-party content that is coming out for Shadow Dark, clearly, I think, is establishing it as a as a game system that most people are going to start encountering, especially if you go to conventions. Yes, and it certainly is. So playing 2 characters at the same time for players is definitely a possibility. It allows you to play with just 2 players. And that's the one thing, especially if you're running a hex crawl, so West Marches style, and you can open it up then for anyone coming in can play. If you can't make it the next session, that's fine. We have enough capacity, as long as 2 players show up, then we can have 4-player characters and it works. All right. Again, I'm going to go in much more detail talking about that tomorrow during a video. So let's see. Yes. So yeah, watch Shadow Dark is an FLGS. Yes, I am seeing more and more saying that they are finding it in their local, their friendly local gaming shops. And I think that you're going to see that, continuing to spread, because I know Kelsey in one of her Ask Me Anything videos, she had mentioned that I believe the first printing of it during the first Kickstarter was 50,000 copies, and then there were 5,000 of the deluxe edition or collector's edition of the book. So 55,000 hardcovers. So 55,000 hardcovers. Then I don't know how many were sold as just PDF. Then she said, now with this current Kickstarter, they put out an order for 50,000 more of the core rule books prior to the Kickstarter, and that was already in the works. And then another 50,000 along with the current Kickstarter. So just pre-Kickstarter and then after Kickstarter. So, and I'm sure that those will, she'll be required to do another print run of the core rule books as well. So probably looking at, by the end of this year, anywhere between, let's say, 175 and 200,000 core rule books, physical copy core rule books out there in the wild. And I think that really does push it to, push it to the point that it is, that it's a true front runner in the, absolutely the best game system coming out of the OGL crisis. All right. Taking the most advantage out of the OGL crisis. And I think that the fact that it is so simple to do third party creation for it, and they're so open, Arcane Library, Kelsey Dion is so open to people creating third party content, that it's going to continue to just snowball, through the hobby. So I think it's going to do a great job. Is it I think it's the best introductory game system out there for people who have never played a tabletop role-playing game before, or certainly for someone like my first experience with Shadow Dark was running it at a convention. That's how easy the system is to just pick up and play, or to pick up and run. So I think that that's a huge, huge thing. So let's see. I played in a friend's game years ago where we were Imperial soldiers trying to reunify a bunch of provinces that broke away. We spent an entire session debating what our future plans were. Yeah. I mean, it's not every session has to be jam-packed with adventure and action and combat and risk. Sometimes it's it's nice to just have ones where the player characters are learning about the world around them. It's one of the funniest. I mean, it's great to have sessions like that. Yeah, so I know you're. And I remember you putting that announcement. Hey, look what I found. You put that on my Discord. Yes, it is out there. And you're in Maine, so it's getting to different. It's getting to different states as well. So I've seen it in. Someone posted it up. Hey, I see it in Tennessee, and you're in Maine, and I know that there are. They're definitely out there in the Midwest because that's where Kelsey Dion lives, and so you're certainly going to see it around that area as well. And she has said too, if you're a gaming shop and you want copies, she's made it abundantly clear that you can reach out to Arcane Library and request copies to be sent. Let's see. Started playing Shadow Dark a couple weeks ago. It would be nice if it was on Amazon. I guess. I mean, what it takes is for it to coming out of printing and everything. It is printed in China, but she's not. It counts as a book, and so it doesn't have more than, and never had more than, the 10% tariff that was already there. So she said that it would not impact, and now there's a 90-day freeze or a 90-day lock-in at the 10%. Tariffs are not even going to impact this at all. So anyway, will it eventually get to Amazon? I guess. Does it need to? Not really. You can buy it direct from Arcane Library as well. And I can't see that it's going to be that much cheaper on Amazon. I forget if they charge shipping when they get things from. I don't believe so, to be honest with you. So, but you can always double check. My FOGS has sold more copies of Shadow Dark than any other RPG, with the exception of 5e. It's doing very well. Yeah, it's doing very well, and I think that it'll surpass 5e, or certainly 2024 5e. It will certainly surpass. Yeah, it's fairly common with me, especially depending on the game system too. Like Amazing Adventures, I think has less combat oriented than AD&D First Edition. AD&D First Edition, they've had combat almost every session. I think certain games just lend themselves to that, and it's fine. It's fine to have that. If it made it to Maine, it can make it anywhere. Yeah. Uh, yeah, more setting books, more adventures and everything. I just showcased two that I just recently picked up as well. Um, do you think you'll be doing anything with Dangerous Journeys again in the future? Yes, yes, Eric. Eventually, I will get back to covering some more of that because I know that very few people. Um, I don't know of any channels that have ever covered that game system before. So I will. I promise you that I will get back to covering some more Dangerous Journeys, as well as some as well as I always forget his other ones because it was Dangerous Journeys, and the other one is Legendary Adventures. So I will get to both of those at some point. Yes. And when I was interviewing Stephen Chenault from Troll Lord Games, um, the Gord novels are going to get reprinted. All right, and that might the Gord novels will also have the very good chance of being converted into into adventure modules, probably using Castles and Crusades, I would assume. So so that will be really really cool to see that coming out. So that's your main game. That's really cool. All right, that's really cool. So so yeah, I'd definitely be interested in hearing, what you have to say about running that game system. So yes, and if you ever want to come on and talk about the game system, like when I'm doing that, I would do a live stream with you, and we could talk about it at the same time. So that would be pretty awesome, actually. Yeah. Well, and there's I mean I'm going to do a short on for Golden Glory, and this is one of the few, if not the only one that I've come across that is an OSR of AD&D Second Edition, and this really does streamline AD&D Second Edition well. Like I said, this is the next couple of books on my shelf tour, and so I'm going to bring this up, and I have some really pretty older videos on this. Um, going back probably about 4 years ago. And so it'll be good to, pick this up and start talking about this a little bit as well. As you can see, I'm also I'm waiting on my Gangbusters. Gangbusters came out in a backer kit. So the new Gangbusters is coming out. The advanced or the expert rules of Gangbusters is coming out from Mark Hunt, and he's working with Wizard Tower Games. I picked up a nice set of these, and I will be writing one of my most one of my highest selling uh, adventure modules that I created on Drive Through RPG was for this game system. And so I will certainly be doing a follow up, and maybe even another adventure on top of that. I'll do one, that is police oriented or FBI oriented, and then one that is for, gang related, and see creating a organized crime gang as well. So from that perspective, so definitely be working on that as well. I need to get back to my Dragonbane coverage, so that will be coming up over the next week or so. As you can see, I have a lot of irons in the fire all at the same time, and sometimes I get kind of cluttered and so working on it. So I will get around to doing those things, and and while I was doing a number of things, like I went into I started doing some spring cleaning, of my closet space, where I have a lot of my backlog of games and comics and books and whatnot. And um, I came across my initial copy of, and it's still fragmented, but I do have this copyrighted. So Hoist the Black Flag, which was a pirate themed RPG that I was working on back in 2019. So it's been lying dormant for quite a number of years now, and so I've been designing this, and eventually, once I finish this up, now this might take me another 6 months to a year to finalize it and such, and then I want to touch bases with some of the people that are making this style of booklet, and and touch bases with them so that I can get this much more professionally created than my own little booklet kind of thing here. So again, I don't mind sharing it with you here because it is copyrighted, and I do have that at least initially secured for my future writing, and that will be my first game system since I was a kid. That'll be the first game system that I actually designed and will publish sometime soon. So if anyone wants to help me play test that and check that out, certainly feel free to reach out to me, whether it's here on the channel or in my Discord, if you're in my Discord as well, and say, hey, I'd love to, help you play test this thing, and certainly welcome you in. I know some of my early play testers, like the one play tester that I had, I really haven't had any contact with him in years. My art director was one of my longest standing internet friends, who has since passed away, and so he was a great artist. So his name was Edwin Johnson, Edwin Johnson Sr., and he was a long time friend going back to the 2000 or so, and he just recently passed away in 2022. Yeah, it was a 22-year friendship, and to have him pass, was something that, when I came across this again, I was like, yeah, that's right. Edwin was my art director for this, and helping me just come up with things. And he was going to do the cover art because he was an oil paint artist, and he was going to do the, ultimately the cover art for it. Now, unfortunately, that's just, not going to happen now. But I'm certainly going to leave his name in there, in memory of both him and his contributions that he's already made towards it. So let me continue going on. I'm thinking of running a game at ShireCon using Dragonbane rules set in Minaria, the world of 1979. Cool. I'm looking to play more at ShireCon, so I'll certainly look to jump in your game if you are going to run that, because I'd love to play Dragonbane. Let's see. I primarily play Shadow Dark. Do you have any recommendations for CNC books that cross over feel? I heard that the Castle Keeper's Guide is good. I'd like to support. All you need to run Castles and Crusades is the Player's Handbook, which you can get for free, and the Monsters and Treasures. That gives you everything that you can need to run it or to play it. And I believe even one of the older public printings of Monsters and Treasures is now also for free. So you can get them both for free. And then if you're looking for something that is great to introduce new players to Castles and Crusades, I'd recommend taking a look at the new starter set that they're coming out, and they're planning on that coming out by June. They're expecting the boxes are supposed to come in sometime within the next week or so. I was just listening to their live stream where they were talking about that, and so that you can expect, that might be helpful. They have a white box version of the game as well, which is low level characters and everything. And then as an introductory module, you can either use the adventure that comes in that white box, and or you can use it's called A0. So A0 is the rise of the night, or something along that lines. I'm just going off the top of my head, and that might actually be something that I use to introduce, because I'm looking to start a new campaign for Castles and Crusades a couple months down the road. So certainly do want to jump in on that as well, and that's something that I will be doing with upcoming conventions that I will be participating with the Endless Worlds organized play. And basically, what Chuck from Troll Lord Games told me is that you'll run it, you'll keep a log of how many participants, how many sessions you ran, where you ran it at, and then you submit it to them, and then they will record it, and you'll generate both you'll generate some like store credits, or you'll certainly tally up points, acknowledgement from Troll Lord Games that you are participating in the program. He's currently working on it and trying to get it to be fully functional as an organized play system that you'll start seeing around other conventions as well. It has some, it's starting to hit, like it's been done at Gen Con. I believe it's done at Origins as well as some of those other big cons. They're running it in Texas, so probably at North Texas, and again, Gen Con. And I reached out and I was like, I'd love to start introducing Endless Worlds to the Northeast, and not just PAX. I mean, not PAX. I'm sorry. It was run at Philadelphia Area Game Expo this past year as well, and I'm sure that they're going again in January, this upcoming January 2026. So looking to. I won't be at that one, as I stated earlier on, but I will plan on going to page. It would be page 4, which is in 2027. Hey, Erudite, how's it going? Austin, you're not late. I started just done some scribbling up on the advanced combat section for myself. Cool. So, and then Chuck is great. He hooked me up with multiple PhDs for a gaming club I set up for my local library, getting younger folk into the old school gaming. Yeah, and Castles and Crusades is number one. It is potentially the first OSR game. It was published first in 2004, so it was one of the first games that took advantage of the OGL 1.0a, and it's also the last game system that Gary Gygax worked on. as you know, and so it is truly the it's named after the Castles and Crusades Society, which was Gary Gygax's gaming group um, back in the 70s, and so it is an homage there, and it is a I will claim that it is the banner standard or standard bearer of Gary Gygax. So it is no other company that I have come across give him um, the same homage as does Troll Lord Games. So anyway, sadly, I come to the OSR from Bandits Keep. So the backside, all right. Bandits Keep, the YouTube channel. Um, yeah, I haven't been to that YouTube channel in quite some time, but I know Bandits Keep as a YouTube channel. Maybe you're speaking of something different. I feel honored running a gaming club in Arkansas using the game made in Arkansas. Talk about supporting local, yeah, and they have been phenomenal with their. If you go to my channel and you look through my live streams and you'll see my last interview with Stephen Chenault. I mean, their response to both the OGL. They were a front runner in the response to the OGL. They were a front runner again in their response to the possibility of tariffs, and they are, they are made in America, and that includes their boxes and their hardcovers and whatnot, and they're looking to integrate that into their own printing so that they're much more self-reliant on those kinds of things. I mean, if they put sets of dice in their box sets and everything, that I'm sure will come elsewhere. But they will find a way to find someone who is creating dice here in the United States as well. So yeah, very, very supportive group of people, and they deserve your support. Are there any other games that have an annual feel to them, like Reconquest or Pendragon? I have an idea of a campaign where it's about marrying into a family and taking over a kingdom. Adventure Conqueror King is a game system that is built around the idea of domain play, which I think is what you're leaning towards. So, and yes, Reconquest has a little bit. I don't have Pendragon. What do I have? I have RuneQuest, which I have to get into as well. And so that's something that I will look into as far as Pendragon is concerned. But I do have to get back to talking about RuneQuest, which I bought the box set and I haven't looked at it since then. So yeah, there's a lot of things as I'm going through my shelf tour. I'm also going to be doing a series. I already started it. I'm going to be doing a series of videos where I'm talking about game systems that I think you should be running. Game systems that you should try to get your hands on if you haven't already, because they're that much fun to play and run and whatnot. So I will be getting to that. I am in the same boat as you as far as so my recent purchase of of the Village Engineering and the other. If I'm spending like $50 or so, I don't use my military discount with them. The only time that I use the military discount is if I'm buying a lot, if I'm spending hundreds, all right, in one shot. And I might actually use the military discount when I upgrade my 3-core rule books to the newest version of it. Although I've been very, very open that I don't like the removal of the spell blocks that there used to be for the spells. So, how you would have just the numerical details of a spell and then a description of the spell, and they built all of those numerical details um, into the verbiage of the description of the spell now. And I've been pressing them on coming up with spell cards, which I think would sell insanely well for for them. And so I've been on them about spell cards. I said I will buy the spell cards, a deck of spell cards for every spell casting uh, class in the game, and I'll probably buy 2 sets of them so that I can use one for the players and one for myself, and and do it that way as well. So yeah, I think that'll sell really, really well. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't like to overuse their military discount because it's a 50% discount. That's a tremendous discount, and I use it sparingly. I don't use it for the Kickstarter, so I get their things on Kickstarter, and that's what it is. Yeah, domain play is what you're looking for. Adventure Conqueror King is probably the standout for domain play. I think that game system is really built around domain play, and I think that you should look into getting that system, at least in the PDF. But I got that system, and I have to get back to covering that as well. I just got that system, and it is behind me right there. So those 3 black massive books right behind me. So looking forward to actually digging into that and running that at some point as well. That's going to be for a home campaign. That's the kind of game that I'd like to just focus on. Home campaign, very, very small group of players too, probably no more than 3 for that kind of a thing. I have the Reforged Monsters and Treasures and like it. I'm not a fan of the Reforged Player's Handbook because of how they did the spells. Yeah, I'm in the same spot. The thing with the Reforged Monster Manual. Now, of course, if I'm going to get the one, I'm going to get all 3 of them anyway. But yeah, I'm on the same boat with the Player's Handbook, and I have them in PDF. All right, so that's the other thing. I did back their Kickstarter, and I got all 3 PDF from the Kickstarter. So I just didn't bother with the hardcovers but eventually I'm going to break down. I'm going to end up getting them anyway. But yeah, the Monsters and Treasures, I believe they integrated the sanity table and the sanity effects of encountering the monsters in the Monsters and Treasures. So there's a little bit of a crossover between Amazing Adventures and Monsters and Treasures for Castles and Crusades. So that was a difference, a new stage there for the newest printing. Remember, they don't do. Yeah, they were ahead of the curve there too. They have never done new editions. They've done new printings, and their printing. The printing is generally not a change in game mechanics. Their changes in layout and formatting and art and so on. Yeah, I mean I get it. I'm a completionist though. If I'm gonna buy the other 2, I'm gonna end up buying all 3. That's just the way I function. Yes, it does have the sanity listings. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I will probably get that one for sure. Again, once I get that and it has the extra little label on it, I'm gonna end up getting the other 2. I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing. I'll check their dinged and scratched thing to see if I can get any that are going to be a lot cheaper. So again, if anyone wants to jump in, I will put this here. So other things going on in the in the gaming sphere that anyone wants to bring up, you're certainly welcome to do so. I've talked a little bit about my own personal gaming, some of the things that I'm looking to do, upcoming conventions that I will be involved with. I actually had some of my some of the players from Page Two. They reached out to me. They were from Alabama, and they were asking, "Are you going to be at Gen Con?" And they said, "We really love to just touch bases with you," and because they played in my Shards of Ymir adventure, along with Scott. So there were three of the players that actually got killed during that adventure, and so they said, "Hey, we'd love to hook up and play in one of your games again." So it was a great acknowledgement for the time that they had at at Page at my table. So I was really thrilled that they're still that encouraged and they want to come back for more. And I was like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at Gen Con anytime soon. It is just such a struggle to travel, for me to travel out that kind of a distance. And, but I give them a list of like 5 conventions that I kind of intend to go to over the next 12 months or so. And hopefully they can get back out there, or, definitely catch them at Page 4 in 2027, because I am planning on going to Page 4. So, so yeah, it was a nice acknowledgement that people do enjoy sitting at my table, and and we generally have a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes, the purpose of gaming is to have a good time. So contrary to at least one opinion out there, um, you know, uh, is just too big for me. Yeah, it's too big for me too. That's the other thing. The older I get, the more I enjoy small cons. Right there with you, Hermit. Same thing. Uh, that's the, that's the other thing. Like, the biggest conventions I've ever gone to is Comic-Con at the Javits Center in New York City, where you have, 60,000 people a day passing through that. And I know that Gen Con is not anywhere near that kind of a size, but it's still 10 times larger than the cons that I enjoy going to. So that's the thing that I'm really talking about, is or even more than 10 times the size. I like conventions around 500-600. Those are kind of like really the upper edge of where I'm really comfortable at. I like smaller cons as well. Although my kind of like my favorite spot is probably around like 300 or so. 600 to me starts to become large, but I still enjoy it. Page 2 was 1,800 to 2,000 or so. And that was a big con, but it didn't strike me as being overwhelmingly big. But something that's like 25,000, 30,000, I would be overwhelmed in that. So I'm in the same feeling as you are. What? That flies in the face of Scott's expert commentary on your game. Yeah. Well, I have the other players that are, you know, went against that. They said they had a great time. So yeah, his non-expert opinion. What's your opinion on alignment? I was watching Driving and Dragons. All right, so he was talking about alignment, and so my opinion on alignment is several fold. So first of all, the alignment system is one of those things, one of those essential elements of Dungeons and Dragons that Gary said straight out, if you remove the alignment system, you are no longer playing Dungeons and Dragons. And the reason why he said that was that he believed that, and probably rightly so, that if you remove the alignment, all the players would start just being murder hobos and just finding a combat resolution for every single challenge that they faced. So he felt that having an alignment system would strongly encourage players to participate in a heroic adventure. And that's what Dungeons and Dragons is meant to be. It's meant to be a heroic adventure. Now, when I look at the two-axis alignment system, I have never personally felt that the two-axis alignment system reflected my character accurately enough. I started saying, "Hey, I'm neutral. I'm chaotic neutral with good tendencies." I started using tendencies for things, and and that I found was giving a little bit more flexibility of what my characters were. They were too complex for just a two-axis system. Then the idea started coming to me, and this came with later editions of Dungeons and Dragons, when you started having deities and the more focus on their domains, and I was like, that makes more sense to me. All right. So you can have a flexibility of alignment within whatever the deity would accept. And I think alignment is only truly important for character classes that rely on it. So your clerics or priests, whatever system you're talking about, your paladins for sure. Occasionally the rangers. Now, when they say druids have to be true neutral, I think druids just have to be some form of neutral. So I give them a little bit greater flexibility, because you could have a true environmental avenger out there that is closer to neutral evil than you do, or neutral good if you want to take it from that perspective as well, and would certainly still fit within a druid's concept, and I'm a big fan of Robert Kuntz's Dark Druids adventure and how he kind of laid out what the druids were like there as well. So so alignment I think is an important system to have. Depending on your game system, you don't have to necessarily rely on it. Like Castles and Crusades, I don't think has a strong anchor to the alignment system as strong as AD&D First Edition had. So I'm a fan of alignment, but I think that you sometimes have to go beyond beyond what the alignment has to say, as long as your player characters aren't just turning into total murder hobos as a result of not having a strong sense of alignment. Yeah, I don't speak lawful. I played a lawful good cleric once in a D&D campaign, D&D basic campaign, and it was one of the best experiences that I had playing a lawful good cleric, because the domains of his deity was justice and honor and justice and it was justice, honor, and like bravery or something like that. So I was like, all right, this is something that I can really stick to. And I came across a dilemma where it was like, continue with our adventure that we were currently on, because we did have a time constraint, or go help somebody out over here. And I sided with the rest of the party to go and to complete our task, and then go back and deal with that other task which I was going to apply on. But I was so conflicted with it, because I was like, my character should have just said, no, we're going to take care of this now, and then we'll get back to the main thing. And it was a, a real challenge, in my role playing. Like, where would and I tried to role play my character, as far as, regretting not making that decision, and regretting not, um, trying to vigorously, making the case that we need to take care of this side adventure and then go back to our main adventure. So yeah, it was a lot of fun playing that character. He wasn't just your typical cleric heal bot kind of character either. And so, it was a lot of fun. So that's another reason why I like alignment system too, is because when you can role play an alignment well, and I think they all can be role played well, including chaotic evil, which I know a lot of people say, oh, chaotic evil is play chaotic stupid. No, you can play chaotic evil well, then it's going to be an interesting character. Now, the character might not last for very long, but it doesn't mean that you can't play them or role play them well. So, so yeah, that's well, what's your opinion, Mike, on alignment system? I'd love to see that, in the comment section. So feel free, or you can jump in and share your thoughts there, on stage, if you're not too shy to do so. So let's see what other things have been coming up. So, with great turning undead abilities comes great responsibility. Yeah, yeah, and like I said, those domains play a big role. Like, I make clerics. Clerics must demonstrate adherence to their domain every single day in order to be able to pray for their spells the next day. So they have to show in some way, and it could be role played. It doesn't necessarily have to be an action or a spell cast or something, but I like to put it in. Chaotic neutral is not chaotic stupid. Conan the Barbarian is chaotic neutral. He is like the prototypical chaotic neutral. Now, the worst kind of players might not be able to play chaotic neutral well. There's the difference, is that it requires, almost every thief I've ever played has been chaotic neutral. And the chaos doesn't mean that they are chaotic in their actions. It just means that they don't care about the lawful structures of a society, that they will bend the rules, to meet their own needs, and their own needs might be greed, and the neutral is just coming into play, that they're not going to do anything that is overtly bad or evil, or overtly good at the expense of their own desires as well. So they're kind of a more erratic within the span of what is neutral, and that's where their chaos, their non-adherence to rules kind of thing. So sometimes people say, oh, they're free-spirited and fun. That's more chaotic good, So yeah, I think it works. Looking at your comment, the worst kind of players pick chaotic neutral. No, it's the worst players can't play chaotic neutral well. Batman's another example of chaotic neutral. The original Batman. Existential evil. There are really consequences for getting involved in chaos. Yeah, but they have a different take on what chaos is. Oh, you're listening from work. Yeah, well, some other time. You know, yeah, I'd love to have you on. I would love to chat with you. Um, and just talk about that kind of that topic. So, um, yeah, anytime you like, just let me know. And yeah, I'm pretty flexible with live streams. So anything else going on? So I know this here. I am going to. I think I already did my 5 giveaways. I still have 5 more giveaways uh, for the rest of this month. So I'm going to hold off on those I'll do a live stream near the tail end of the month, or I'll do some more membership giveaways. I think I only have 5 left for this month. So, yeah, I haven't seen very much, looking at some other channels and everything. Um, I haven't seen very much about, any real controversies. Let's say now that everything's kind of died down a little bit with the impact of or the expected impact of the tariffs on gaming and gaming products and whatnot. I know it's hit board games much more than it's hit our hobby. All right. And that's because our hobby is primarily books, and books are not as much as much impacted by rising tariffs. Um, so that's kind of waned a bit. I think that, there was a little bit of a fervor over it in the very beginning. And then as some deals started getting cut, between, like the United States and the UK was like the first deal that was cut. A lot of the trade between the United States and Canada was handled under the most favored nation, status anyway. And then, the United States just made a temporary deal with China, where both would reduce their tariffs by a significant amount for the next 90 days. And so hopefully, if people have their Kickstarters, running through that, they'll try to fulfill them a heck of a lot faster than they might have. So don't dilly dally if you're waiting to get your orders in to ship. Do that crap now. Um, yeah, pencils and notebook of paper is still only $2. And you can get digital dice rollers for free. If you want, or as I said early on in it, and I actually didn't get any pushback when I said this. I was like, you can get one set of dice, and your one set of dice will last you a lifetime. And so if one set of dice, instead of costing $13, costs you $30, it's $30 investment for a lifetime of gameplay. I don't see the problem, to be honest with you. And so that whole thing, and like Austin says here, pencil and notebook is all you really need. And and you can get by on just that. And and again, one set of dice, and you're fine. You're ready to play. Get PDFs of the game systems that you want, and you're ready to play. And a lot of the game systems out there, they're free PDFs. I mean, you can get Basic Fantasy RPG, one of the cheapest game systems out there to get your hands on, both physical copy and PDF. PDFs are free. Troll Lord Games PDF is free. So you can play that game system up and down for absolutely free. And then, like I said, if you need a set of dice, there's plenty of cheap alternatives to that, including digital dice that you can get for free. I use Lion's Den on my iPad for dice rolling. It's very, very easy. Yes, CNC is free. You can get the player's handbook, and you can get the I recently saw that the one of the printings of the Monsters and Treasures is also for free. So you can get that entire game system for free and play it right from there. The Castle Keeper's Guide is a nice to have. It's really useful. A lot of great stuff in there, but it is not necessary to play the game or to run the game. You can run the game with just the player's handbook and the Monsters and Treasures. You can play the game with just the player's handbook. All right, and the player's handbook is free. So there really haven't been any other controversies that I have come across over these last couple of weeks. Now that the tariff stuff has died down, there's nothing really going on with with our hobby as far as any big upheavals or anything like that, which is a great thing, right? I think people are kind of settling in to the ideas of we're gonna play different games out there. We're gonna play more games out there. We're gonna focus more on going to conventions and meeting people and just having a good time with the hobby, more so than worrying about what the big boys, whether it be Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or whatever. I mean, you virtually never, I don't come across any news about Paizo at all, ever. I mean, we've had some stuff coming up with like Goodman Games and they're reprinting some things from I'm going to forget that. I guess it's Robert Bledsaw the third or the second, the junior, who made some anti-Semitic remarks several years ago. And so by reproducing these, this adventure path, let's call it, dating back to like 1978. So he made this comment earlier, and this was something that his father had written, and basically Goodman Games was reviving a failed Kickstarter, and so making those people that backed that Kickstarter whole, and then also bringing it forward and making it available to others. And so they got attacked for that, and they, I think that it was unnecessary for them to apologize for it, because it was the son that made the comments, not even the creator of the adventure, from what I understand. It was the father's creation of the adventure. So, I mean, who cares? And they said that the payments were going to go to, to some kind of a charity instead. The proceeds would go to some kind of a charity, or to make the original Kickstarters whole. Um, and to do it that way rather than just let the thing languish and never happen. So, I again, like, I had said, and I'm not super in tuned with it. I'll be perfectly honest. So I was like, yeah, you never come out and apologize for something, because that doesn't work. You'll get attacked even more if you apologize for something. I would have just came out and just said, this is the Father's work. It has nothing to do with the Son and the nonsense that he had spewed. And this is just making game players like you whole in a Kickstarter that had floundered and apparently failed. And so that's what we're doing. And that's it. No apologies, to say this is why we're doing it, done. And then walk away from the whole, the chatter around it, because the people raising that issue weren't going to buy the product to begin with. And they never are. They're never the ones that are actually supporting your company and buying games and doing that. They're outside agitators. They're tourists of the hobby, not participants in the hobby. And so they're only inserting themselves to be destroyers of what's going on, and not really looking to advance the hobby in any real way. And they couldn't give a shit about anti-Semitic remarks, because I guarantee you they have views that are probably just as anti-Semitic, and they, they wouldn't support. Let's see where they stand on, on the other side of the politics, whether it be, the Jewish state or this or that, and you'd see a very different thing. So, yeah, don't give me that nonsense. Yes, we always go back to the sins of the father are the sins of the child. Now, well, this one I think is the actual reverse, right, Austin? So it's the sins of the child are reflecting upon the father's work, which, is really sad. Apologizing just puts blood in the water. Yeah, absolutely. And then you end up pissing off both sides, or whatever. So there's almost never anything to gain in social media of making an apology. You're better off doubling down and moving forward. Yeah, apologizing never works. I've never seen apologizing in social media, in a gaming hobby or in an entertainment hobby, ever actually work. So other than that, I haven't seen anything else really coming up in these last like 2 weeks or so since I've done my last live stream. Nothing really came up that is really shaking up, shaking up the hobby in any real way. Dishonor on your father, dishonor on your house, dishonor on your cow. So, yes, a pot's on your house. Yeah, so it's a. Yeah, they started to. Then their new audience came after them over the nonsense. Should not have engaged. Yeah, it's just a, got involved with pronouns in print. It's just nonsense. It just make good game. It's like when Troll Lord Games was really quite famously attacked for putting out a message, basically, that Troll Lord Games is apolitical, and they're just about printing good games, and that's all. And when they say printing good games, they mean the content of the game, the quality of the books and the boxes and whatnot, and the artwork and everything. They're just about making good games, and they got attacked for that. It's like, oh geez, it's like, imagine if a surgeon was just, was saying, I'm just about doing good surgery, and I'm not going to get into any kind of political arguments. I'm just concerned about being the best surgeon that I can and making sure that my surgeries are done well, and that the person has the highest chances of survival, and then get attacked for not choosing a side. That's essentially what they're doing. Is like you cannot be apolitical. They say that is a political response, is to be apolitical. That's nonsense. All right. Not everyone has to engage in uh, the political banter on the internet, and so when they say, no, we're just looking to make great games, that's the company I'm going to buy from. All right. Not because they're making an apolitical statement, it's because their focus is on making a great game, and not on anything else but their focus. All right. So that's the kind of game company that you want to give your patronage to. Yes, people are so histrionic and hysterical. They need to get real problems. Yeah, recently I just said this to my wife, today, because we're doing a lot of housework, replacing furniture, getting new furniture and everything, and you know our our kids are older. My youngest one is about to turn 20 next week, and so we're like, it's time to start fixing up stuff and changing out the furniture and blah 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 blah. So we have this one television that because we're reconfiguring our family room and our living room. um my wife was like, I don't care what we do with this television. And I was like, well, I'd hate to just say we're gonna get rid of a television. It's a 55-inch television. I said, I don't want to just throw this thing out. And she says, no, we'll just put it into a room that we're not using. And then she said to me, she says, this is not a real world problem. Having an extra television is not a problem. If that's our biggest problem, then we have no problems. And so it reminds me of the comment that you're making here. Yeah, they need to get real problems. And yeah, I mean, it's like, thankfully, knock on wood, our biggest problem is having an extra TV that we don't know what to do with. So what is a television? Yeah, we still have televisions. So yes, you see that the real tragedy here is that there won't be a reprint of Invincible Overlord, won't be readily available. Right, right. It's like if they didn't do this, it would be gone. And not open to And again, another group of people that backed a Kickstarter that would go, you know, not made whole. So I think it's doing a service, really. Yes, my wife almost always has a point. Yeah, she's almost always almost always right, which is pretty bad for me. But yeah. Hey, how's it going, The Edge Lord? Yes, I am live, at least for another little while. I started earlier today, so I can certainly push this for at least another half hour. So if anyone wants to jump in and join the chat, if you've just come in, if you want to come in from backstage, there is the link, and you can jump in. We've been talking about. I've been talking about some of the game systems that I'm running, some of the conventions that I'm going to. We talked about, tariffs and how the tariffs have kind of died down. We talked a little bit about Goodman Games and the controversy around the reprinting of the Invincible Overlord, and there hasn't really been, at least on my radar, there hasn't really been very much else of a thing off topic. Well, this is open mic, so there's nothing off topic. But do you have your favorite set of dice? So my favorite set of dice. Where's my thing? So these are my favorite set of dice. So these are my. I don't know how well you'll be able to see them, but these are my blood splattered die. And so I use these exclusively as a game master. All right. And I take great. I was going to say I take great glee when I roll a natural 20 on my plate, but actually I don't. I really do. And when I do my recap of my Shadow Dark game last night, you'll see. I mean, I was like, shit. And like every time I rolled a really high roll, and they were going to get slammed or whatever, I was just struggling with it. I was having a hard time getting through there, and I was like, wow, it was skin of our teeth. But I'm going to save that for a video tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I'll definitely do that recap tomorrow night. Oh, we got Austin. Hey, how's it going, Austin? I love that avatar. It's kind of like what do you call those things? It's like a snow Jawa. I don't hear you yet if you don't have your mic on. So anyway, yeah, I don't know this. Dice Tales, I don't know the answer to that question. So you're doing a fast tomorrow. Yeah, let me get caught up here. Doing a fast tomorrow. All right. And let's get Paul in on this. Hey, Paul.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, I can hear you fine. So, Austin, I don't know if you have your mic on or what, but I haven't heard you yet. So let me just get caught up here. So, yeah, Judges Guild. Yeah, it technically was not Judges Guild. I mean, I think it was the Sun, right? So they're talking about reviving stuff from, the late 70s. So the Sun made this comment in what, like 2019 or 2020, 2020, I believe it was. So even that is like ancient history, for Christ's sakes. It's 5 years ago, during COVID, so it's like who really cares? It has nothing to do with the product that they were reviving.
I think one angle to consider too is they don't want these things reprinted because they want their garbage to sell. They want the cafe adventure, the prom adventure, whatever, nonsense that they've been writing for 5e to sell, pretty much, instead of going back
to. But it's like those people aren't going to buy. They don't buy adventures anyway. It has been my experience with people, especially coming off of Twitter, and when I say Twitter, I mean old Twitter as well. I mean mostly there, when it was old Twitter. It was like these people are actually playing. They don't actually play any of the games. I remember the first guy that came out made a big thing about the orcs, right? And then he later admitted in that one tweet that he, had thousands and thousands of comments and everything. Then he came out and he said, well, actually, I don't even play Dungeons and Dragons. And it was like, this is like the case. And most of those, most of the Sparkle trolls are just about, oh, look at my character build, or look at my cosplay. And they don't
Right.
actually play the game. All right.
Well,
And they don't buy the products ever.
right.
It's like, it's, even I've even heard like criticism of Critical Role in the fact that they have very little gaming knowledge because they probably never actually, they never actually read the books.
Mhm.
All right. They're just, they're doing something that makes a lot of money and gets a lot of attention and everything like that. It might be entertaining, but it's entertaining as as an entertainment show. You're not watching it to see actual gameplay. You're not getting into the game mechanics per se. You're just looking at the personalities and you're enjoying the personalities. Again, I all the power to them, and they did manage to make something that really did project the hobby through, primarily through the COVID years. So they certainly did that part for it, but you're not going to turn to them for, advice on, what's it mean to do this with this particular spell kind of thing. They don't have that kind of knowledge.
Right. Well, I think the way they look at it, it's very kind of lizard brain, because the first
Mhm.
big hubbub was Gamergate, and that was over video games, which has an enormous audience. So
Right.
I don't think we look at it on the ground level, so we understand the hobby. They don't
Mhm.
care what the hobby is about. They look at masses of people. So it's kind of like a predator sensing where's the heat? Okay, the heat's here. We attack here. So once there was enough people kind of in D&D and role playing, then they kind of struck there next. So that's
Yeah.
really kind of all it is.
Yeah, I did a live stream a couple years ago when I was pointing out, someone put out a tweet there, and he was bemoaning the fact that um, he tried to infiltrate the OSR, and because he could not identify a head
Right.
of the OSR, they couldn't destroy it from within.
Right.
And I was like, that's their problem. Their problem is that they came into the OSR seeking to destroy it. Once they realized that there was no real, head to this thing. I mean, we argue over the actual definition of OSR. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
and we can't even settle on that because I think there's multiple definitions anyway.
Old
And
school Renaissance.
yeah, well, it's Renaissance, it's revival, it's role play, it's rules, it's the R is what is flexible. Old school will remain old school. It's what you do with the R in it that becomes a problem. But this guy was saying, he came into it intentionally looking for a way to destroy it from within. And because it had no head, no one individual or group of individuals to attack, they couldn't do that. It wasn't going to work.
Right.
It's like they were able to go into the comics and destroy Marvel and destroy DC or destroy, some of the big, some of the big publishers, let's say, but they didn't find that, here in this hobby. There, plus this hobby, going to um, what I'm going to say, I think it's Cynthia Williams. What Cynthia Williams said. All right, so the former CEO of Wizards of the Coast said was the problem with the tabletop role playing hobby is that you can buy the books and then play it for a lifetime, and I was like, and that saves us. All right, that saves us because you can't destroy what's sitting on my shelf. All right. You can't destroy, you can't control how I'm using those books once I have them. You know, Now digital you can take away from me, and that those were the big things about, DM's Guild, and about even what you have on one bookshelf or what you have on Steam, right? I think Valve was the first one that was floating out. Well, you don't actually own the game that you bought. That's on,
Right.
that's on the, that's just rented. We can take that away. And I think I forget how that turned out. Whether
With
that
piracy. That's how it turned out.
well, no, I'm saying like how that turned out in the courts, because I think the courts were saying that they don't have that ability to just take away your library that you purchased. That it's a, I forget. I'd have to go into more detail on it. I forget where or whether or not it's still tied up in the court or whatever, if they do have that power. But that was something that Steam was certainly floating to, that idea that, well, your Steam library is not really something that you purchase that you can maintain permanently, that we can, we reserve the right to pull a game from that, even though you've already purchased it. And Wizards of the Coast definitely said that you don't own the stuff that is on D&D Beyond, that they do reserve the right to take it.
You don't even own the things that you publish to D&D Beyond, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing with the DM's Guild. It's like, once you put it there, we can use it in any way that we choose, and then we can deny you the right to continue using it. Which is, to me, is like insane. Why anybody would even bother publishing under that is just beyond me.
And it's crazy that people now are surprised that they went back on this again. Like when they first did that whole crisis last year with the open game license, it's like it's only a matter of time, guys. They're just reworking the legalese. That's why all the people that had skin in the game, like publishers, like Troll Lord and whatnot, were like, we're getting rid of everything that works on 5e.
Oh, do you Richard might remember this? Do you remember the case with Gary Gygax? How he had his face stolen, basically. He couldn't put his face on any new product because it was part of D&D officially. It was like copywritten or whatever.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the Lorraine Williams. It wasn't enough that she stole the company out from him, but she also tried to make it so that he could never publish anything under his own name.
Well, not just his name, his face. I mean, he couldn't put his face on any new product. I'm like, a face can be copywritten apparently by law, so I can steal your face and put it on my hot sauce bottle all day long.
Yeah, I don't know if that would still hold water today, because there's been cases where people people just go around copywriting different things, and it's like, you can't copyright my name or take my right away from my own name just because you chose to copyright it. I would think image. I don't see how anybody can steal your image and then say, well, your image is copyrighted by them, that you can't use your own image. I don't see how that flies. Might have been a very, very slim case back then. Maybe it was an artistic rendition of his face. I don't know enough about the case. I'd love to look it up.
Well, all I know is that Tolkien tried to say he owned elves and dragons, and the court said no. That was funny.
Oh, well, yeah, because elves and dragons existed long before Tolkien.
He did own hobbits, though. They did own
hobbits, but not anything. He couldn't own elves, gnomes, goblins, orcs, dwarves, even dark elves go back to.
That's like Finnish myth or something like that.
Yeah,
that goes way back centuries.
Yeah, Nordic.
I just got done reading Discworld. Well, I guess they're all the fourth book in the series. That's the joke. But apparently he had elves be evil. Actually, that was kind of neat. They had like a glamour effect or whatever, and they took everything. And I mean, they were still allergic to iron, though. That was kind of interesting. The old Fey lore there.
Yeah, so yeah, you no longer own the content. You're, basically licensing it. It's a matter of how much money you want to spend litigating it. Yeah. And that's the other thing they use. I mean, they know that, 99 out of 100 people are not going to have the wherewithal to fight him back on it. So they just give up.
Yep, we live in a capitalist society. Those who have the money make the rules.
By the way, you no longer own your own gene sequence. It's a Genentech that owns it now. Yeah. So, oh yeah, Games Workshop thing came up. I saw that. Games Workshop think they own the 8 Arrows of Chaos. Michael Moorcock disagrees. Yeah. Yeah, I saw something, on another channel where there's what are they having, like a Warhammer World Championship here in the United States, and some of the golden ticket owners are saying we're not going to go there. It was like, nobody cares that you're going to decide I'm not going to the United States to play in a freaking gaming tournament where they had this special invitation. I'm sure that there were 1,000 other people willing to take that special invitation, and go and play in your stead. No one is going to be crying over, your absence. And Games Workshop, I mean, like I was saying earlier on with the tariffs and everything, the UK had settled a tariff deal with the United States. They were the first amongst them. So you shouldn't have any problems with getting their stuff. Now they've been suing companies left and right, for I guess 3D printing. Bottom line, that genie is out of the bottle. If you don't want to get overwhelmed from 3D printing, then make your shit cheaper.
Right.
That's the bottom line. It's like, don't be, and don't phase out units that people spent fortunes on just because it's, we're going to force them to go to this other thing. They do the same thing in Magic the Gathering, right? They'll discontinue the use of cards in their organized play just to force you to get new sets and everything. Well, if you don't want people, I forget what they call the fake cards that people print for Magic the Gathering. There's a term for them when people use proxies. Printing proxy cards. You can't. I understand you can't use them in official things, but if you're playing in a local gaming shop, you can use all the proxies you damn want. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right. Yeah, I've got an inkjet and card stock. You're not stopping me. I can do what I want. Not selling them. So
I was gonna say, speaking of cheaper alternatives, I've looked at this like stuff called moon sand or whatever. I was thinking I could use that instead of train or whatever, 3D train.
Yeah,
pretty good stuff. That and also air clay too.
Moon sand is messy as hell. It's like when you want to torture somebody, you buy a moon sand kit for their kids. It's like it's the ultimate fuck you to your to your friends or family members that have young children. I bought them a moon sand.
Oh, okay. So it's really messy. Don't do that then.
Oh, it's messy as hell. It is messy, man. Really messy. Play-Doh is far cheaper, far cleaner to deal with than moon sand.
Yeah, I was looking at Play-Doh and clay and stuff. Yeah, those would be good for miniatures.
Yeah, intellectual property laws are completely broken here in the United States, and there's no political will to change that. Yeah, I mean it's just a you remember when I don't know if any of you were old enough to remember, probably are, when Napster was being sued by Metallica. All right. And over Napster was a you can download free music, all right, from Napster, and it was very similar in our hobby to the Trove, right? So the Trove was putting out these PDFs of games that they were just, pirating, and they were, busting down the books and just printing out the PDFs of them. So anyway, Metallica was suing Napster, and bottom line was, one of the things that Napster was trying to say is that people that never heard of your music before are hearing it, and then they're buying your album. You know what I'm saying? So they were able to sample different music that they might not have heard before, and now they're like, oh, I really like this song, or 2 songs or 3 songs, and then buy the album. They were never able to show that their sales declined because of Napster. All right. But they still got it taken down, right? It was still, and they didn't just go after the company or whoever was running the server, that was Napster. They were going after individual buyers, which was something that I think backfired. Not Metallica itself, but I'm saying,
The record company was going after him.
Yeah, record companies and stuff are going after the people just buying the music, and it's kind of like, it was just didn't go well for them in the time, and they'll probably run into the same issue here. It's like, you're not going to stop the 3D printing, all right? Because once those printers are out there, how are you stopping anybody from doing anything? It's like what we say with our rule books. I bought the rule book. I can run this game however the hell I want. There's nothing that you can do to stop me from running the game, as I wish. Right. And that's the same.
People are using the tools, and they are in ways that they never expected, and like, oh, how dare you? Well, if I build a log cabin with my chainsaw, guess what? They can't say they own the log cabin, because that's what I use the chainsaw for.
Well, that's why they're pushing this kind of ideology of like something needs to be anointed to be official, because then they can change the rules edition to force you to buy a new book. Yeah, you don't
Magic
need
the
it. Like especially Magic, they switched it up, but especially for D&D, like they came out with new editions, and people still just play regular AD&D. Yeah, have been doing that for 40 some odd years.
Alrighty, good night, guys. Take care.
See you.
You have a good one, Austin. So I stopped patronizing Games Workshop as a consumer over 20 years ago. It's a terrible, greedy company that regularly exploits and disrespects their fans and gamers in general. Games Workshop can choke.
They kind of suck. I mean, my brother was a big fan of Kill Team. We were playing, like, it's a smaller skirmish level game.
Yeah.
But when the new edition of it came out, he jumped on because he's like, hey, new edition. Like I said, he's caught into that whole, well, that's the official one, let's play it, even though we were playing the previous one and had no problems. New edition came out. They had base rules for all the armies, but then as White Dwarf issues came out, they were like, oh, now we have special bespoke rules for one specific faction, and then everybody would jump on that one because the rules were interesting and cool. And they kept doing it as they introduced more and more factions, and now they're like, well, now we're going to do a new edition. And it's like, you only did like 5 factions in the White Dwarf. There's still plenty of other armies you didn't even touch, so they just got screwed in that entire edition of the game. And they're like, hey, we don't care, we're just gonna pump out another edition, so you buy a $200 box set for the rule books and whatnot. And it's GW. It's like he said, 20 years at least. They've been garbage, because they tried to copyright the word Space Marine, and it's like, no.
That was recent. Yeah, that was like within like the last year or so, and they were like, no, you can't do that.
No
I
way.
think it was in too many other places.
Yeah,
it was in Star Trek, right? Long before they came around. So Bamboo Labs has made their firmware so that your printer, by default, has to connect
to them and allow them to monitor what you print in order to get updates.
So you don't buy their printer, right?
Yeah.
I
sounds
guess.
like they pretty much pushed themselves out of the market. With that one.
It's like, okay, no, not to buy Bamboo Labs printer now. So it's like, and that's what happens. That's how people will always respond. There were, They will always find a way, and just weird. Weird to say. A lot of old school punk and metal heads first heard Metallica on cassette tapes that fans made for each other. And the irony wasn't lost when that all went down. Yeah. I mean, it was, yeah, I used to use my tape recorder to record things coming off the radio, and it had those kind of tapes, long before, because there was not, there wasn't the CD yet, so it's like, we just had cassettes and we
That was
taped
actually, I
everything.
think that was actually one of the first things I had from Metallica was a bootleg tape I bought from a guy in Poland who I'm pretty sure was just making them in his basement. And this is like
Yeah.
right after the wall fell. So
Mhm.
like they just got out of communism and the guy was like, hey, free, or not free, but he was just selling, Metallica tapes. And I was like, oh, this sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so Edgelord,
Oh,
the
Lord.
Edgelord,
Yeah.
Bamboo Labs. I was going to buy one of them, then found out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm wondering what they would do with that. So they would monitor what you're printing in order to get updates.
And they would claim like, oh, we're doing this for ghost gun, legislation or whatever nonsense, even though
Oh,
anybody knows you wouldn't use one of those. It'd probably blow your hand off if you tried using a 3D printed gun.
yeah. Well, it's not the entire weapon that they were 3D printing. They were just 3D printing the uppers, the upper assemblies, not the
Yeah.
lower assembly you could buy. It's the upper side that would still stupidity too.
Right. Well, you still need a
Arms,
metal firing pin and all that stuff.
arms. It's like it says arms. So nothing is precluded from that or excluded from arms. I was getting to that argument. I was like, you could own a 12 gun sloop, a sloop of war, according to the tradition.
Right. Well, wasn't that was Jefferson that was specifically asked that because of the Barbary pirates? They were like, can we put cannons on our merchant ships to defend against the pirates? And he's like, well, yeah, it's the Second Amendment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was a privateer navy before there was a U.S. Navy. The War of 1812 was fought with privateers. It was not with private naval ships.
Right.
There was not officially a navy, until after that. So anyway, I used tape the Dr. Demento show on cassette. Yes. Yeah, everyone owned their own cannons, their own artillery pieces, their own ships, ships of war, their own rifles, their own everything. There was nothing that there was nothing in arms that wasn't excluded. Plus, you could have swords and battle axes and everything. You could own everything under the sun, and there was no such thing as military grade. What I'm saying it's because our hunting rifles, even back then, were better than the issued musket of the British Army. So there was never anything that precluded from having weaponry that was too good. What I'm saying? And it's like, that was the whole point, was that you were supposed to be entitled to have weapons that were better than what the government would have.
Right. Well,
Usually
that was the thing. That's
things.
why the language is so vague, is
Yeah.
to leave room for the growth of technology, and that's why the counter argument usually is like, well, freedom of the press only counts the printing press, so it doesn't count, radio or the internet.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? If that's the way the logic we're going for it.
Yeah, that's what that always shuts them down.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. So, while I'm setting up my own HIMARS because of my neighbor's weed eater noise. I don't know what Himars are.
No.
Yeah. And won't be upgrading it. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that was the only other like semi-controversial thing I saw was that Warhammer. Well, that was the other thing, right? They were suing somebody because they wanted to copyright the term Warhammer.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to copyright Warhammer. I was like, Warhammers have been around for how many centuries? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right. Like, I mean, you couldn't even, copyright Zweihander. It's a type of weapon.
yeah,
And a very terrible RPG that nobody bought.
yeah. Well, which was a ripoff from Warhammer anyway.
Warhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads to the downfall of the Trove, which really, like, that's what put them on my radar. I was like, really? These guys who just pretty much took Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, made a bad clone of it, and then they shut down the Trove because they were saying people were actually stealing that. And it's like, guys, it's not even worth looking at.
Yeah. So they were getting into that whole controversy with the with 3D printing, and then now So actually, well, Warhammer now, Warhammer Fantasy is made from Cubicle 7, so they're not even. Are
Not
they
even
totally separate from
not even a good role playing publisher
Games
company, to
Workshop?
be honest. The really the only good games that role playing wise that came out for any of the Games Workshop universes was under Fantasy Flight. They had a good writing team, and then
Yeah.
once like I forget what happened, like they just didn't re up the licensing deal or whatnot. That golden age of really cool third party GW stuff is gone, and they went to like Cubicle 7, who what are they known for? Like the Doctor Who RPG or some, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah. So I only
Yeah.
3D print minis myself now. Yeah.
Arch Warhammer. There you go. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
YouTuber, or he still is. He just goes by Arch now because they're like, we don't like you using Warhammer in your name, because he would talk about GW stuff a lot.
Yeah. But his real last name is not Warhammer, so I guess
Right.
if his
They
real
can't.
last name was Warhammer, they couldn't do a damn thing. I'm pretty sure. Reminds me of the lawsuit TSR versus GDW. Yeah. And the original, the original of Gary's Legendary Adventures, or I always conflate those two names. What was it? Legendary Journeys or Amazing Journeys and Legendary Adventures, or his two game systems that he made after post TSR.
Yeah, because he made the one for Troll Lord, and what was it?
It
He
was
at
before
the
Troll Lord.
was before Troll Lord? Okay,
I got them behind me. Let me see.
gotcha. Because I remember that was the legal kerfuffle. He was at, I think, Gen Con or one of the bigger conventions selling it, and
Yeah.
then TSR came in and said, no, you were developing that while you were in TSR, so that's ours.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the argument that they made.
Right.
And again, he couldn't fight the lawsuit, so he
Right.
just gave them up. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, he was like, all right, these are free now, and just handed them out, and that was it. So that's why they were so
Dangerous
valuable.
Journeys. Yeah. So yeah, and it wasn't with Troll Lord yet. It was a different company. It was his own company.
Recommendations for easy entry war game without all the corporate drama. What kind of scale are you looking for there, Mike? You looking at skirmish, or do you want like vehicles, big game? Because bolt action that was mentioned, that's a good big game.
Yeah.
If you like the World War II setting.
Skirmish. Let me see. Of Armies and Hordes. So this is a great game company actually. So this is coming from I can never pronounce his name right. Andrea Sfiglioi, Italian name. This is from GaneshaGames.net. So they make some he makes some great miniatures games, and this is also from Four Against Darkness, same company that makes Four Against Darkness, which is a solo RPG. So this rule system is pretty cool. And he has another one that is, but they're all skirmish. They're not large scale, but they are miniatures games. What was his other one? I got them all together here.
Let's see here. Yeah, Edgelord, as far as the FFG RPGs, it was, what did they start with? They had Rogue Trader, they had Death Watch, they had Only War, Dark Crusade. That was you played Chaos, and there might have been another one, I forget.
Oh, here it is. So this is Advanced Song of Blades and Heroes. Is the other skirmish game that he had. Fantasy Skirmish and Miniatures Rules. Same company though, Ganesha Games. And this is pretty cool. This is pretty good as well. This is although I think it's a different author. Maybe not. Oh no, it's same guy. So same guy, one man show at that company. But yeah, that's another one I would recommend. But anyhow, Bolt Action for Warlord Games is very good. I'm willing to bet a majority of the books downloaded from the Trove was out of print stuff anyway. A lot of it was, yes.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of like the Marvel Phase Rip stuff.
Oh
You
yeah,
just, like,
yeah. I
gotta
got
find that, you know.
Yeah, I downloaded a whole shit ton of stuff. So, I think that's where I got my copy of Fatal from. It was like,
Oh Lord, yeah, you're not gonna find that in print.
900 pages of it. I was like, holy cow. Let's see. All right, Bolt Action, Dangerous Journeys. Never got a notice for this. Oh, I'm sorry, Agile. I posted this up like this morning. I announced this one. So you're welcome to log in anytime, and I started early, so you jump in anytime. Dangerous Journeys. They settled out of court. Yeah. Infinity Games. That was Gary Gygax's company, Infinity Games, I think. Just getting caught up on the chats here. Let's see. Small scale, easy would be best for me. Mordheim for skirmish rules mixed with campaign rules. Mordheim.
Yeah, another Mordheim-esque one is Frostgrave and Stargrave. They're both, that's fantasy and sci-fi respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, I see a lot of skirmish level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which from GW, I mean, I hate to give them money, but Warcry, I really like their rule set.
Yeah.
You could start with like a $40, $50 group, and you just had little miniatures, and it's very simple. You can get a game done in 45 minutes.
Yeah. I have a copy of TSR's second supplement answers to GDO's first set of interrogatories to playing to. It's crazy, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of them too.
They're nice
Yeah.
because they're miniature agnostic. So it's like if you got a handful of fantasy guys, you could just use them for it, or sci-fi ones. They'll tell you like, oh, if you've got an alien crew or troopers or robots, you just throw them in there. You're good to go.
Actually, you know what? I have so many people in here. I'm going to give away some things. I'm going to give away some memberships. Got a lot of people in here, so oh, it's taking a while. There we go. So, you have 5 gift memberships left for this month, so I will do that. It took a while for that to spark up. So here comes some 5 free memberships. So these memberships here, you're entitled to join in with any of my games. So just go to my Discord, and then you will see any games like right now. I need up to 2 players for my Shadow Dark Saturday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Time games. So Shadow Dark, I'm currently filled on my AD&D First Edition, and probably in about 6 months, I will. Probably in about 6 months, I'll be looking for some play testers for my own RPG that I've been writing since 2019, and sat in my closet for a couple of years, and I was like, oh shit! I was cleaning up. I was like, oh wow, I forgot because I switched computers since then, and I was like, so I have the hard copy of it. I don't even have, and I was like, oh, I just have to retype this whole thing anyway. But yeah. Oh, so let's see. Shark, congratulations. Driving and Dragons. Hey, love his channel too. We were getting into a nice little talk about alignment, and the fact that we didn't really agree was even better. The fact that we didn't quite agree on things. I was like, I lean more towards domains for clerics and even paladins than alignment per se.
Right.
I was like, to me,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just honestly, it's as far as just D&D. As long as your character believes in something, and you're not just using it as like an avatar in a computer game, because you're not playing Bard's Tale or Might and Magic or anything like that. You're playing D&D. You should be role playing a character. They should, I don't know, have something that motivates them so that the GM can kind of pull some strings to kind of make it seem like things are happening, not just off of a random roll chart. But I think that's why it's the most interesting role playing does come from paladins and clerics, because they have to believe in something. So that's my 2 cents. Ideally, people would play with alignment, but anybody that has an argument against it, I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, and you know what I started doing was with the domains, with clerics or paladins, I was like, oh no, you're not going to just pray for your spells tomorrow. You have to demonstrate that you have adhered to at least one of those domains during this past day,
Right.
and role play it out, and then I was like, well, everyone can, every cleric can cast the ritual cantrip kind of for clerics. You can cast ritual the number of times based on your wisdom bonus, right? So but a minimum of once, and you have to demonstrate those domains and cast ritual every single day, but it's a free slot cast. You don't have to you don't have to take up a slot of your regular casting for the day. And so I was like, yeah, like if you're worshiping a deity that is a deity of light and healing and blah blah blah, blah, you better shed light on the world in some way. You better heal something along the way,
Right.
And no, you can't hit something and then heal it. That's breaking the rules. You have to actually demonstrate your devotion to your deity, rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, I'll pray at night, and then the next day I have my spells."
Right. Well, it makes sense if you're playing some kind of clerik or holy man. There should be
Yeah,
like a daily sacrament that you have to do, whether
yeah,
it's to, whatever
you
it
know,
is. Have a philosophical conversation with somebody, or in some way, be an example for what your god believes, or it has domains in.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you, Edgelord, for becoming a member. Again, jump to my Discord. You can jump into any of the games that I'm running and join as a member. So you can say, "Hey, I'd like to play an NPC in your AD&D First Edition," and you're welcome to do so. If I have any openings in any of the games that I'm running, you'll have first dibs along with any other members that are out there. And like I said, I'm looking for 2 players Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and for Shadow Dark. And later on down the road, I'll be play testing some adventures that I'm writing for conventions and my own RPG, pirate themed RPG. So see how that comes along. That'll be at least another 6 months before I even start thinking about play testing it. Palladium alignment system is my favorite. I have to take a look at that. I see I'm going to end up going down this rabbit hole of starting to compare different alignment systems and different game systems. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. Since you guys are bringing it up, I will certainly look into it. I do have Palladium 3rd edition, Palladium Fantasy 3rd, or maybe it's 2nd. So I'll take a look at how they handled it there.
They were almost like archetypes, kind of like World of Darkness had, where you had to, there were like guidelines. You were either like a scrupulous, unscrupulous, miscreant, aberrant, which was always one that I liked, where you followed a strict code of honor, but so you could be kind of good or bad. It was very a neutralish type of guy.
Yeah, they kept on coming after him, Agile Monk. That's why he was like, "All right, I can only work on something that that provably was not something I created," because Lorraine Williams would have just kept on coming after him over and over again.
That's a tough part too these days, especially if you're somebody trying to self-publish something. You won't have any backup if people try to come after you legally for whatever reason. And
Yeah,
that's why you see a lot of these nobodies come out of the woodwork and try to claim whatever type of ism or whatnot to shut you down. Yeah, Mike mentioned Trench Crusade looked cool. I saw that at Adepticon a couple of years ago. I was like, oh wow, that naturally the artwork draws you in, but they've been kind of embroiled in all kinds of nonsense. So it's like it's an easy skip when it's something as expensive as a miniature game. You're like, I'll wait and see.
yeah. Just Ethos and Dangerous Journeys. Yeah, I know somebody had asked me to get back to covering Dangerous Journeys or the other one, Legendary Adventures. And I was like, yeah, I got to get around to it. I have so many things that it's just hard to keep up with covering everything that I do have. I have Shadowrun as well. It's a combo of Dark Sun and Shadow Dark. Looks real neat. I just have the starter set of Shadowrun. I don't even know what edition that is.
I think he's talking about something different called Shadow Sun, because I read it as Shadowrun in my brain too.
I've read it as Shadowrun too.
Right.
Shadow Sun, yes.
That's why when he was like, it's a combo Dark Sun and Shadow Dark, I was like, Shadowrun's not. This has to be something different.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's what it's supposed to be. It's kind of taking Shadow Dark and Dark Sun and combining them. It's the only way you could do it, I guess.
That was the thing I came across, I think, last year at Gamehole Con. There's actually a big living Dark Sun world. I forget what
Mhm.
mechanics they use for it, but they just do it just to keep it up because there hasn't been
Yeah.
anything for Dark Sun. I think
Well,
they
there's
did a
look at
booth for fourth.
Greyhawk. There was Star Frontiers alive and well,
Mhm.
and they were keeping that thing going for at least 20 years before Wizards of the Coast was like, oh, you can't do this. They didn't make them take down everything, you know what I'm saying? But they let them still do some stuff, but they weren't able to. I think they couldn't publish adventures anymore, but they could still do the Star Frontier, the Frontiersman, like a magazine of Star Frontier stuff, but they couldn't. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I-
And then they kind of left them alone because it was like, you're not going to do a damn thing with Star Frontiers. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's the thing that these companies don't understand. Like the problem is you get some guy in a junior vice president position who says like, look at all the money we're leaving on the table by letting these guys walk off with it. And it's like, let the fandom create stuff, and then
yeah,
it kind of keeps the game in the air.
yeah.
That's
It's
the
like,
wind. That's the wind keeping the plane flying while you guys make your official books. Like, and
yeah,
that's what's nice about Chaosium, where they allow you to do. Was it the Johnstown Compendium for
right.
Glorantha and RuneQuest and all that stuff? It's like, hey, you create that. You say it's like, well, it's not officially canon, but
Yeah,
we got some people in the fandom who write some cool stuff, so you
yeah,
can check it out here. It's all stored in one place, and it gives you the sense of this larger world that you can dip
yeah.
into.
They're afraid of third-party creators because Wizards of the Coast knows that they don't have any writers on their own staff that can match.
Oh yeah,
They're just not as talented.
yep,
All right. And they know it. And that's why they keep on diving to the same old well of, rebooting everything. And Hollywood's the same way, right? Everything's a
oh
reboot. They have no creativity left in them anymore. Like or they just have no creativity. There's nothing innovative out of them. They cannot, they cannot create something new.
right,
That's why they're always looking to destroy all old franchises, to make all old franchises so miserably a failure that their own mediocre crap will now sell. And
yeah,
that's the total design of it. It's like there isn't a franchise that they won't try to destroy. Um, and they did this with Star Wars, they did this with Marvel, they did this with, Star Trek to, a slightly lesser extent, but still, Star Trek has, I don't think they can make a Star Trek movie now that anybody would want to, really bother with. Um,
yeah.
Disney
I've
itself has destroyed their own cartoons for Christ's sake. It's like
oh yeah,
Jesus Christ. I mean,
they're like cannibalizing themselves. It's very
yeah,
strange.
it's like, how do you take your and I say the same thing for like Wizards of the Coast when they came out with the Stranger Things starter box. I was
Yeah,
like, this should have been a freaking reprint of 1983 Redbox. It was like, you had it right. You
yeah.
owned the freaking license to it.
And
You would
you could have saved on a graphic designer, but just by just making a sticker that says "as seen on Stranger Things" and you put it on
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you
That's
would have
it.
made so much more money from it, and
Yeah,
you're promoting your own damn product. The reason why they wouldn't do that is because they don't want old school D&D competing with 5e.
yeah,
Because if people started to look at old school D&D and compare it to 5e, they'd be like, what the hell am I buying this new shit for when I can still get the old stuff for reasonable prices in comparison? I
yeah.
mean, even to this day, you probably can still find bargains on first edition AD&D for $60 a book.
Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, that they could make money and get people into that market just by reprinting AD&D with just a better layout. That was
Yeah.
really that was like the big selling point for, I think, Hyperborea for me, was just it was AD&D, and then they just kind of cleaned things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. And it's got a cool setting built in. I think I always rib about the BX clones and just how we're just buried in people just making more and more BX clones. And I think what they really should do is like find one of these that you like, whether it's old school essentials, swords and wizardry, whatever base system you like, and create settings and adventures for it. Don't create your own world that just you might have one rule that's cool, and then people will just steal that from the book and never play your game because it's just BX, to be honest.
Mhm.
You know, and they just keep making them though.
Let's see. I gave demonstrations of Changeling, Unhallowed Mythos. All right, so Dangerous Journeys at GaryCon many times.
Is that GaryCon or Gen Con?
Or Gen Con, probably. Yeah, GaryCon, you would have been able to run it. It's like,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What isn't right? Agile. Hasbro did a merchandising deal with Stranger Things and had to do that way to make all the extra money they wanted upfront, and they were giving extra marketing dollars.
Mm.
Yeah, but have you ever read the adventure that is in the Stranger Things box set? All right, it's unplayable. You can't run that adventure. The adventure is absolute shit. I don't know who wrote it, but it is absolute crap. It doesn't make any sense, and it's completely unplayable and unrunnable. So it's just a bad version of a starter set. I was like, my God, what a missed opportunity, in my view. And they would have made a lot more money from it. They were afraid to have it compete with 5e because it would have beaten 5e. Oh, he said it's GaryCon.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally they get some rare games that pop up there, and I finally get to play them. Like this past year, I finally got to play Villains and Vigilantes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's always like one guy who drags some ancient, tome out from wherever to play something. It's like somebody ran a Boot Hill. It was like one guy again. And both of those guys, the Villains and Vigilantes guy and the Boot Hill guy, also ran for the celebrity group who kind of gets to handpick whatever the hell they want and play it. Probably because that's the thing. It's like you want to try these things, but that's why it's important to have fans who run it.
Yeah, it is unplayable. Yeah, it's totally unplayable, Shark.
Well, that was one of the nice things about Shadow Dark when it first came out. They had those little like one-shot adventures that's just on a tiny like
Awesome, yeah.
oversized index card, and it's got the map on one side and all the breakdown on the other. Very simple.
I was always a fan of Villains and Vigilantes. Second edition, precisely.
I was just going to try Champions at Gen Con, and I didn't get it. The sign-up was earlier this morning.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I could get them both out of the way because I want to try out all the superhero games. But Villains and Vigilantes definitely scratched an itch because as soon as we bumped out the initiative and I saw that it was almost the same as Shadowrun, where the speedsters would like go multiple times a turn, but not make it kind of cumbersome, I was like, awesome, well done.
Yeah. I love the carrying capacity mechanics in Villains and Vigilantes, freaking long ass calculation and everything. I was like, we were in our teens and we can manage, advanced math because we're all nerds. So it was like, we can handle crunch. We can handle that. The only kind of crunch game that I could never handle was Rollmaster. That was just too freaking crazy. I was like, no, this is like, I'll never forget the first time I'm creating a character for Rollmaster. I was like, I'm just leaving those 250 creation points on the table. I says, I can't do it no more. I was like 3 hours into creating a character. And I was like, you still have 250 to spend. No, I'm not doing it anymore. I forgo those 250 points. I'm going to play it with what it is right now. And that was it. I played once. And once I saw the combat, I was like, did I hit? No, you got to look at this reference chart, then that chart, then this chart, then, oh, you did hit. But now we're going to see if you actually did damage. I was like, so after all of that shit of 15 minutes of just trying to figure out if I've done damage, I hit, but I didn't do any damage. I said, well, this is crazy.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me almost the first time I played Hardmaster, where it was just like, oh my God. Like, there was a fight where it was like, okay, because it's contested rolls and you have to choose your defense. And I had a guy with a shield. So it was like, you could do this kind of parry counterattack thing. And so in one attack roll, we had to roll 4 times, like back and forth to see like, okay, how many feints and ripostes and counterattacks happened in one combat roll. And I was like, it's a little bit much for me, on top of the whole armor stacking and the very granular hit locations. If you're hitting the shoulder, the upper arm, the neck, the gorget, and you're like, okay, no, thank you. I don't need that much detail in it.
Yeah, the Wendy's game is it called Feast of Heroes, or I think it's something like that. Or
that sounds familiar,
yeah. It's it was not a bad game. It was written by people that actually know something about game design.
Well, there's the thing that the guy that, well, whoever it was that ran the Wendy's Twitter always had kind of fun, kind of deep cut rule things about different war games. Because I remember one time they had an orc war truck from 40K with a bunch of curly fries on it, and it was a gif of it moving across the screen. It's like, as long as none of the fries drop, we're okay. And that was a rule where you could load it with as many orc boys as you could, and as long as none of them dropped out of it, it was perfectly legal. I swing by their booth every now and then. The guys with Rollmaster, they have a new system called HARP, I think, High Adventure Roleplay. I think that's what it stands for, and it's supposed to be kind of a middle ground where to lower the barrier of entry to get into it. But I still haven't kind of dug into it too deeply.
Yeah, I haven't jumped into Harn either. I know Agile is bringing up Harn Master and Harn.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of people tell me, hey, you should check this out, but I got too many games behind me that I will never actually run. And so it's like, I know I would never run it, you know, and I got to start trimming down,
It's a harsh realization. Yeah, you look at it, it's like, I've got all these bookshelves back here, and it's like, I'm never running this. I'm never even going to play it. I might not even break it open. Like, yeah.
I've tried to read everything that I have. That at least I've tried to do, and I find like I would never run this either. But our conversation just brought this up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I have something that I can grab off, reference. I even like when I started looking at this for the first time, I was like, all right, I have my little hex cardboard, things. I got my hex things. I cut straws for the measuring for the for the troop movements and everything like that. I was doing that whole, for about 3 days. I was fully immersed into this thing and never once ran it. Never saw an opportunity to play it anywhere or whatnot. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I would, I like having it. I read through it. I was like, well, this is really cool. I was stoked about it, but I will never run it. Never see it played anywhere, and just that's just the way it is. Of a lot of games that I just like having them to have read, and they sit on the shelf.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing too. Some of the books I don't feel guilty about getting, because even though I know I'll never run them, just because I don't have a group or I can't find a group to play them with, there's something about like the lore in it or some of the mechanics in it that really kind of get my brain flowing for when I'm running something or I want to design something. So it's nice to have around as like a almost kind of inspirational piece.
I like Shadow Dark a lot, but except the book does not stay open.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I really like Harn, actually, it's just I don't think I'll ever play the game, but I like that they just give you the sheets and you put them in a binder and that's your book.
Let's see. Hey Eric, how's it going?
Good.
Here's my Shadow Dark book. It's kind of open. I mean, it's
Right. It's going to jump to
heavily used.
another page at any second, but
yeah. The pages that haven't been opened, but you can flatten this thing out pretty well without busting the binding. You know, so yeah, but it's gotten plenty of use. Eric, I don't think we've gotten a sound from you yet.
Can you
I
hear
think
me?
you said hi.
Oh yeah, I heard
Okay,
you.
cool. Yeah. We have to get together and do a Dangerous Journey show for sure.
Yes,
I sent
absolutely.
you a historical document that I wrote because I'm a historian. I have a BA in history with a minor in philosophy and a master's in world history and a minor in American history. And that was like the first thing I wrote after I graduated, which was like December of last year. And I went to GaryCon, ran Dangerous Journeys many times, gave 2 demonstrations. Got a picture of Luke sitting beside me, and one of the kindest things he said was during the demonstration, he's like, "This is just like when I called up my dad, and I would say, 'What are you talking about on page 80?'" And he would get like the answer. And so it's a wonderful game system. It's super smooth. It looks complicated, and it is to digest and potentially construct. And character generation is off the hook, but it's super simple to run, and it's a lot of fun too. They had a lot of fun at when the volunteer staff and Luke played, and good stuff. Changeling and Unhallowed is a part of the Dangerous Journeys umbrella along with Mythos, but those were genre modules that were never published, but I have the complete manuscripts of them, which the nice thing about that is they're not privy to the lawsuit or Hasbro's IP or anything like that either. So and I've been working with the co-author of the game, Dave Newton, to expand and keep it alive. Essentially, I wrote a essay on Hika reservoirs and an essay on AI androids and robots that are in Changeling, and he had published that through his publishing vehicle. And we have a little Discord where we all get together and talk about the rules and make sure that they're understandable and that sort of thing. Like, for instance, there's 2 different kinds of perceptions in the game, and they represent different aspects of detective work. And so, we would maybe rewrite the explanation of that, publish it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, let me. I was jumping on Discord. I'm gonna put a Discord invite in the chat, and
Okay.
you can join my Discord and then reach out to me anytime that you want to set that up. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let me get to my Discord.
I sent the paper through the Facebook Messenger because I don't know, we've been friends for like a really long time, but we've never talked.
Facebook is a good place too. Yeah. So if you want to just, but let me get my Discord invite and get that thing going. So let's see. Edit invite. Okay. And all right, so anybody else, you're welcome to join in that Discord as well.
Getting a lot of Dangerous Journey love in the chat.
Yeah. You know what? I will definitely get to it. I promise. So I'm gonna put it on my desktop so I remember.
But it's like I said, that's always great to have those guys that run things like that at GaryCon.
Yeah.
Just these rare games to keep them alive, because otherwise you just never get a chance to play them.
As far as I know, I'm the only person who's actually ran a game at GaryCon. I ran it at GaryCon 1 through 6, and because I had to do an Unhallowed, a Changeling, and a Mythos, and all of that. So
yeah.
But
now I've always been curious. Like I don't know how many books there are. I have 4 Or is it 5? I have 5 books of Dangerous Journeys. But I've been told so book 5 is the bestiary, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's this is the original one. It's the other game system that I wasn't sure if I had a bootleg copy or not. So that
I've got
was,
2 versions of the bestiary that they were making after that one, the one that had all the supernatural and monster critters in it, because that one mostly was comprised of things that you would find on outer and inner Earth and in between. So it's largely normal sort of creatures, but for all of the undead and all of that, they were working on another one when the lawsuit came in.
Yeah.
So
so I have all 5 books. I think there was probably only 5.
There was a 0 book that basically reprinted the very beginning of the book 1, the core book, the basic game. They actually reprinted that as a standalone book and labeled it 0. And then there's Necropolis too. I don't know if you have that, but there's also 6 Journeys magazines and 6 Mythos Masters magazines that was released that gave content for the game and that sort of thing. So, and then there's the screens too. So there's like books 0 through 5, the screens, and the 6 Journeys magazines and the 6 Mythic Masters magazines. And of course, the unpublished Changeling and Unhallowed manuscripts.
Okay, yeah. So you have gotten the hook in me. I will start. I will definitely get to these sometime this week. So
cool.
Definitely do that. All right, everyone. It is it's already 9:41. It's one of my longest ones. So so let's see. If the rulebook says lean, like Shadow Dark, then it is much easier to do. Just add what you want with no need for cutting or supervising books full of stuff you don't want. All right. Gary liked to work with people named Dave. Less is more. Yes, that is true. Less is definitely more. I like easier design, not too complicated, which is why I like Castles and Crusades a lot. I mean, that's a very streamlined system.
Yeah.
And it still has a lot of character classes and and subclasses and everything. It just doesn't get overburdened with too much complexity within a character class or subclass. It's like, it's like they don't get new skills until like maybe every other or every third, skill level. And a lot of times they're just expanding on the skills that they started off with. And you're never at a loss of, what can my character do? Because there's essentially just, you get better at the things you do, and there's only a new thing that comes every, third or more rounds, third or more levels beyond that. And it was really designed. I remember Stephen Chenault just recently said the game system was really only designed to go up to like level 12, and then there was some pressure to make it go up to 20 or 24 or whatever it is now. But yeah, it's really designed to play from like 1 to level 12, and then you're supposed to stop and pick up a new character and start playing, a new character from there. So it wasn't really designed to do whether it be domain play or high level play.
Right. And that's the kind of stuff like I agree with Shark with, like the domain play should just be that's an optional book you can pick up if you want to play with it, because I haven't really, honestly, I haven't messed with domain play in any of the D&D I've ever played with. It's just not something the players are interested in. So
Yeah.
It's some people are into crafting and other stuff. So I have a book about that where you could be a blacksmith
Yeah.
or an alchemist and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, have the main thing be you're an adventurer. Just focus on this and leave all that ancillary stuff to the side if you want to get it. Make it
Yeah,
optional.
14th level technically. Yeah. Yeah, 14th level technically with Castles and Crusades. It's where they have settled on. Yeah, I conflate too many different systems too. It's like, doesn't go
Right.
to 24, I know, 14, yeah. Yeah, certain games, like I said, they're built around domain play. And if you're even if you're starting at first level, if you know that your campaign is going to ultimately be focused on domain play, you're starting that right from the get-go.
Right.
You're thinking about it, and that's where you're going to start to integrate that into the players, the player characters, progressively along the way, getting them ready. That's why I'm a big fan of BECME, because it takes you don't have to think of like that level band while you're at it. You don't even have to think about anything beyond there. It just kind of walks you through the whole process of growing and growing and growing, and that has domain play,
Right.
technically has divine play when you become gods. But yeah, there's a lot of systems out there that do cater to that, but they're designed to do that.
Right.
It's
And
not
I've always made the argument that was the flaw of 4th edition D&D was that it really was chainmail 2nd edition skirmish is what it
Yeah.
you had character builds and ideas, you played on a grid as a squad. It was very not D&D.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't just update editions and say, oh no, it's the same thing, this is D&D now. It's like it's an entirely different style of play that scratches very different itches. So
Okay, everyone. Hey guys, it's been great. I'm going to have to wrap this up. But everyone, thanks for joining in and in the discussion. And yeah, I'm going to try to make this a thing every Sunday. Just come on in and talk, or not every Sunday, every other Sunday or so. Pop in, say hello to everyone, and see what's going on in the hobby. And now I have my agenda for the next week.
Yeah.
And start jumping into this, and be like, I have to find the videos that I did when I first got these things, because I got them all in one shot too, or practically one shot, on eBay, and I forget what I paid for them, but probably not a lot, So I was like glad that I completed it, at least what I wanted to get of it. So yeah, and I even got the books, right? Or the books are, the novels.
Oh yeah. The Anubis Murder was the first
Yeah.
one of that, and then
Yeah, so I have the novels for this too.
they have 4. They eventually found one on a disk drive after Gary died and published it through Planet Books, I believe.
Oh,
Called
really?
the Infernal Sorceress, I believe was the name of that one. So there was.
Oh, I don't know that one. I have 3 of them.
Yep. There's one more. That's I
Yeah.
think it's from Planet Books, Infernal Sorceress. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait till Troll Lord starts reprinting his Gord series.
They won't. The Gord series, yeah, but they won't do nothing with Dangerous Journeys since
No.
Hasbro owns
It's
that,
only
yeah.
the stuff that Gary was with them at the time.
And that we've talked to them as a group, and they are super uninterested in printing another game by Gary Gygax that would compete with the first game that they're already doing. So they have no interest in that. And quite frankly, I can't imagine who at Hasbro would understand the mechanics of that game to be able to do anything with it, to reprint it or anything like that. It'd be really interesting what they would do with it. It would probably be terrible. But hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming on in. Paul, thanks for joining as always. Sure. And everyone in the chat, thanks for joining in. You all have a great night. And I'll see you throughout the week, and probably by next weekend I'll probably do another. Well, next weekend is the holiday weekend, so I should I should be around on the 25th. All right, you all have a good one, everyone.